All right, welcome to the Eric J. the Great podcast show. We got a special guest on the show today, music artist Obsolete. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing today?
And we're doing all right, man. So for
Good, good.
anybody that ain't never heard his music before, I'm gonna play one of his songs real quick.
Am I classify myself as obsolete? 5 days before Christmas, the year was 88. Everyone gathered round, wishing she wasn't late. Now just moving slow, hoping we get together. I'm stuck in traffic roads, bad due to the weather. See, a few months back, they made a bad decision. They did the crime, but now you'll be the prison. Guess what they had in mind? Happily ever after. Surrendered the minute on the rest, the doctor had to slap him. Cause he was king shit, sat on the lion's throne. She was the queen bitch, heart made of stone. But now the big dreams and the grand plans flew out the window when the doc put you in their hands. Harsh reality, pride and ego, they had to swallow. So that baby wasn't the only one with a vibe. When he was born, grandma said he been kissed from above. Got the proof on his head, it had you up in God's love. To them he was the devil, I know the piece of shit. But the first couple years, look, they tried faking me. It wasn't real easy, cause they were far from home. 6 months of darkness in a completely different time zone. Born in Alaska, but he's no Eskimo. How this lineage from New York, how'd you think this would go? Outcasted from day one, wonder why he's filled with rage. Cause he's around her in a hamster wheel, stuck in a rat cage.
Yeah, I like that, man.
It's a good introduction to who I am as a person, man. It's kind of just a little backdrop of, when I was brought into the world in '88, and kind of a little bit of my backstory. Kind of gives people a good feel of who I am and what I do with this music. So
Okay. So we'll start from the beginning, man, and work our way up to what you got going on right now, man. So first off, tell the people where you from and how old are you?
So I spent most of my life in Kentucky. I'm currently in West Plains, Missouri. I'll be 34 in December. I've been doing music for about 14 years now. 2.5 years is obsolete. Prior to that, I was part of a two-man group. I went by the name of Two Face back then. Was part of a little group called It's Going Down. Me and a guy Jay Money. We did that for a while. Kind of ran Hoptown, Kentucky for a little bit. Mixtapes, doing shows, just kind of out in the streets doing everything we could with the mixtapes and things like that. And then him and I kind of fell off years down the road and kind of took a break from music for a little while, and kind of realized that it's not what I do, but kind of who I am, and kind of decided if I was going to do it again, I wanted to do it my way and rebrand, rebuild, and kind of start from square one. So that's kind of how I got the obsolete and kind of how I got where I'm at now.
Okay. So what's the first thing that come to your mind when you hear your hometown?
Man, not so much the hometown, just the state of Kentucky, man. It's a lot of not so much now, but for years I saw a lot of competition. Like everybody was in competition. Nobody wanted to support. Nobody wanted to. Everybody had to be better than each other. Which now it's gotten a lot better. But when I think of my hometown, man, I really just think small. Like it's not a real small town, but it has that real small town feel. Like a lot of old money, and a lot of they want to keep it a small town, even though it's right next to a military base and has grown quite big in size over the last couple of years. So that's what I think of when I think of my hometown.
Okay. So for anybody that hasn't been to your hometown, man, kind of describe how it was growing up when you was a kid slash teenager and some of the struggles you had to go through as a kid.
Still a lot of the same things go on now, man. There wasn't a whole lot for us to do as teenagers, so we was usually hanging out in the mall parking lot or going to the skating rink on the weekends. They used to do like local bands and local shows at the skating rink and a couple little different places around town. So we'd usually wind up doing that or just running the streets all the time, riding bikes and skateboarding and just acting crazy teenagers, man. Never had much to do. So we really kind of just always found stuff to get into and stayed running around doing stuff.
Okay. So did you have a two-parent household?
I did have a two-parent household. As people kind of noticed with my music, I'm not close with my parents. Wasn't real close with them growing up, and actually haven't spoken to them in quite some years now. Uh, that's one of the things I preach with my music, man. Family isn't always the people that, are related to you by blood. Sometimes family is the people you bring around you. And, toxic is toxic. It doesn't matter if it's your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whatever. If they're not good for you and not good for your mental health, sometimes you just got to step away.
Okay. Yeah, I can feel that. So, you got any siblings?
I got a brother and sister. I haven't spoken to them either. It was a long, crazy story, man. It was some years of stuff that finally came to a head that really kind of all, let it all come to fruition, so to speak. I was about 27 when it happened. The last words I spoke to my mom outside of the courtroom was I needed to change my last name. I wasn't part of her family. And my response to that was pretty much, it took you 27 years to admit what I kind of knew my whole life. So after all of that, that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me to just kind of walk away, and then some things followed after that that only added to that when I really just kind of completely cut them out of my life. And honestly, I've been a lot better for it. Sadly, I know that's a lot of people are like, man, that kind of sucks, but in reality, I'm grateful for it because it's made me the man I am now. It's made me the parent that I am. It's made me the person I am. So I'm not sad that I had to go through it, and I try to tell people all the time it's growing experiences.
Okay. So, as far as when you was younger, man, as a kid, man, what type of activities you was into as a kid? Like, did you play
Uh,
sports or anything like that?
when I was real little, I lived with my grandmother for about 4 years. And when I lived with her, I was playing football. I wrestled for the middle school. I did soccer like in the fall to kind of stay in shape for football. Was pretty into football for a while, and then moved back in with my parents about 14, and just kind of gave it all up. I'm not really sure why. I think it was more of a stubborn, kind of way of getting back, I guess. I mean, it was something I was good at, but I really just kind of, when I moved back in with my family, didn't really care much about school no more. Just kind of fell in with the crowd and just kind of went through the motions.
Okay. So, when as far as your family and just people close to you in general, friends, things like that, did you have anybody that you knew personally involved in the music business growing up?
No, really, I think music was just always, even when I lived with my grandmother and even as a young kid, I always remembered music was what I always went to. When I lived with my grandmother, I was in church. She had me singing in church choir and church competitions and stuff. And that was when I really first started, I guess, getting involved with music. And then as I got older, I was one of those, everywhere I went, you saw me with headphones on my head or headphones around my neck, or, we're hanging out with the buddies and there's music going. And through that, I slowly started writing poetry and kind of, that was my way of venting. Music was kind of my outlet. I didn't talk to a whole lot of people about what went on with my home life and all of that stuff. So music was kind of my escape. So it slowly, I think, just kind of all incorporated later on in life.
Okay. So, as far as growing up, man, who was your music artist that you looked up to, man? Who you like listening to?
The first rap, like I was raised on country and like 80s and 90s rock. The first rap record I actually heard when I was a kid, I was probably 10 or 11. My aunt introduced me, and it was Notorious Thugs by Bone Thugs and Harmony and Notorious B.I.G. And through that, I slowly fell into DMX and started listening to more Bone Thugs, more Notorious B.I.G., Little Kim's. Then, of course, Eminem, was kind of coming along around that time too. So, of course, that fell in. And then I just really dove into everything I could at that point because hip hop and rap was so new to me. I mean, it was almost like a kid in a foreign land. I feel like, I was so used to country and, rock and roll. And now there's this hip hop, and I couldn't get enough of it. So I'd say probably DMX was a real big influence when I was young, and Bone Thugs for sure. And then, like I said, Eminem kind of came later on.
Okay. Where did you get your rap name from?
So obsolete, when I decided to rebrand and rebuild, I kind of sat down and kind of thought of who I was as a person and who I kind of wanted to be. Like I treat this, I hate calling it an alter ego, but kind of like wrestlers do, like the Undertaker did for so long. He played a character and never really broke that character, and you knew who he was, that character. So I kind of wanted to incorporate me as a person into an alter ego. So obsolete comes from a combination of things, really the definition of itself. That's kind of how I felt my entire life. I kind of felt like I was just obsolete. I was kind of there, but wasn't there. And it really kind of drove home. Jeff Hardy's got a song with his band Peroxygen called Obsolete. And, you know, one day that was a song I really liked prior to, you know, deciding to rebrand and everything. And something about that song just kind of came into my head. From there, I was like, well, I don't want to spell it like that. So I kind of started playing with different spellings and things and came up with the way I have it spelled now. And it kind of stuck. You know, I had a couple different ideas for names, but none of them just seemed to fit, you know, what I was looking for. So that's how I wound up with Obsolete.
Okay. So take us back, man. The first time you ever went in a recording studio and recorded a song, man. Just kind of describe that time, and was it easy for you to pick up when you first recorded a song, or was it kind of rough at first?
At first it was kind of rough, I'd say. I wound up meeting the guy I used to do music with as part of a group. I went to school with his brother, and I used to fool around freestyling, you know, just kind of fucking off. And he was like, "Man, you know, I got to introduce you to my brother. He's got a studio. You know, y'all would kill some stuff." So we went over one day, and he's in the studio and he's messing around on his keyboard. And of course, you know, he's like, "Man, I know you've seen Hustle and Flow, right?" And I was like, "Of course." He's like, watch this. And he turns around and he starts playing Whoop That Trick on the keyboard. So, of course, naturally, everybody starts a crazy freestyle session. You know, we're all kind of doing the thing. And he's like, man, you know, let's work on a song. So we wound up writing a song. It was called Hop Town, actually. It was just kind of like a anthem talking about us and our city. And it took me a minute to write the verse and kind of get the feel of the beat, and getting in front of that microphone was intimidating. I won't lie. Like, but at the same time, it felt like I was supposed to be there too. So it was like all these feelings at once. And then from there, I ran with it, man. It was like a high I'd never had before. And, you know, like I said, it almost felt like home. So from that stemmed, God, him and I did, I think, two or three mixtapes, couple different singles, couple different shows. Like it just, it I didn't, I loved football growing up as a kid, and really always thought I'd do something with football until I started doing music. And then I realized, you know, music is probably what I was supposed to be doing.
Okay. So as far as your recording process, man, are you more of a writer or a freestyler?
I like to write. Freestyling's fun. Like I like to do that. You know, occasionally I might record a freestyle, but to me, I like to freestyle and just kind of when I'm riding in the car, you know, maybe kicking it with a couple homies and stuff. I don't discredit anybody that likes to freestyle and that's their, you know, main means of doing this. Anybody that can do it like that, I got to give credit to because it is not easy, especially staying on topic and on a beat. But yeah, I like to write, man, and I'm usually a big my biggest hypocrite, man. I'll sit there and I'll write stuff and you know, it could be the greatest thing I probably ever wrote and I'll throw it away and not like it or, you know, I nitpick the smallest things. And that's something I've gotten better with here lately too, is just more so, you know, making music I love and not trying to necessarily make that one hit. You know, everybody wants to have that one hit. Like, yeah, I mean, that'd be great. But to me, music has been my outlet. Music is my means to express myself. So I try to always keep that in the back of my mind when I'm making it that, you know, not everyone's going to be that one or not everybody's going to like everything I do, but there's going to be those people that do and there's going to be the people that don't.
Okay. So as far as music in general, like when did you really get the confidence to know that you really can pursue the music?
Honestly, man, I did it for, like I said, almost 11 years as part of a group. And him and I never really got real serious with it. I mean, the first mixtape we did, we sold quite a few of them in our hometown and we did a couple of shows and stuff, like I said, but we never really pursued it. That was that time when, you know, SoundCloud was becoming a big thing and Reverb Nation and all of that. And we were still learning all that because, you know, I'm 34, like I said, so I'm still kind of old school as far as the technology. So we didn't know much about it then. And then really when I started as obsolete and decided I was gonna do this and put more energy and time effort into it, that was when I really, really started getting serious.
Okay. So right now you're an independent artist, right?
Yes, sir. I am signed to a label out of Canada, Enigmatic Records. They're an underground record label. Some guys I met about a year ago. Big community of guys. We've got artists everywhere. You know, I'm basically a free agent, but at the same time, you know, I rep for my guys, and we all work together on things. And they help me out with a lot of marketing and you know, engineering and things like that on the back end. And you know, I do a lot of promotion and stuff for them too. So it's like a mutually beneficial partnership, so to speak.
Oh, is it like a distribution deal of sort?
Basically, yeah, I do use like DistroKid and stuff. Like I'm free to upload on my own and do whatever I want to. I get 100% of all my like they don't take any cuts or anything like that. It's just my buddy Aaron that kind of runs the label reached out to me after a online show I did. And he was like, I'm sure you get a bunch of these, spam trying to sign you, et cetera, et cetera. He's like, that's not what we're about. I'd love to just talk to you for a little while and, get your opinion and see where you're at. And after about 10 minutes of talking to the dude, I kind of knew I was going to rock with him just because I really like, what they're about and really just, bringing a community together, man, of people who make music and we all do what we love and at the same time building together, because there's strength in numbers, especially in this music industry, man. Like you get a lot of people that, we've got guys that are in the UK, we've got guys in Amsterdam, we've got, people everywhere all over the world that, are that's we're able to access and network with and work beside, and that opens up doors and opportunities that, you wouldn't have every day.
Okay. Well, would you sign to a major that if it made sense?
If it made sense, and honestly, really, my big thing about signing to a major would be keeping my master's to a degree, simply because that's another reason I do my music is I want to leave a legacy for my kids. I want to leave something behind for my kids, because that once you have kids, you realize that everything we do is entirely for them. So to me, I wouldn't want to go sign my life away and give everybody all my stuff, and then at the end of the day, just be as broke as I am right now, and not have nothing to show for it.
Okay, I can feel that. So as far as when you initially first started dropping music and start building a buzz and how was the city embracing you like when people knew that you was taking the music serious and you started putting out music consistently?
Honestly, man, it was a kind of a sigh of relief. I wasn't sure because so many people were so used to seeing me as part of a group. I wasn't really sure how well I'd be able to do on my own. And it really took a buddy of mine, Be Good, up in Louisville, Kentucky. He's been a guy that's been rocking with me for years. Back when I was Two Face, he had been trying to get me to come up in Louisville and do some shows. And he reached out to me once I moved back to Kentucky and was doing my thing as Obsolete. He's like, man, doing a masked up show again. Would love for you to come through, like always. And I finally was like, you know what? It's time. I ain't done a show yet as Obsolete. I'd done a open mic a couple weeks before that one, and kind of got the rust off, I guess. But it was time to do so. So he reached out, and I went up and did a show up there, and just the love I received in that city, man. Like I'm almost 8 hours away from Louisville, Kentucky now, and I would hitchhike to go do a show up there tomorrow if they had one for me. Like I'll go back there, even if I was to blow up tomorrow, I'd still go back and do shows at that venue just because the amount of love I received there, it was crazy, man. And then through that, I started doing shows in Nashville, and the same thing, because I tell everybody all the time, I never wanted to be the point guard, the number one, the LeBron James, the Mike Jordan. I'm cool with being the number two, the number three guy. I love making music, and I also love watching everybody around me, succeed and chase their dreams and things like that. So when I go do these shows, yeah, I go perform and I go do my thing, but I'm also in the crowd, hyping people up and acting crazy and trying to get everybody else hyped too, because I love this music as a whole. So I think that in turn was why everybody showed me a lot of love everywhere I went, because I was always, making sure to give it back to everybody. Because this music business it's a hard industry, man, and it's a lot of people that's gonna hate on you and want to throw shade. And I always try to look on the positive side of that. And there's a lot of good people out here that want to support each other and really do this because it's what we love to do.
Okay, yeah, I can feel that. So compare the music scene in your hometown versus where you at right now. Like, do a lot of artists collab and work with each other?
Where I'm at now, West Plains is it's a little different, not a big hip hop market. But there's a place I go to about an hour down the road, Hartville, Missouri. They actually just brought out Afro Man for the second time this year. I went and had brunch with him last weekend. Pretty dope, man. Good times. It's a big 16-acre farm. They got a what they call a source. It's like a part zebra and horse. Anyway, it's a cool little spot. But yeah, man, there's guys out there from rock bands to some bluegrass and everything in between, and we all go out there and do shows. are constantly networking and working with each other to try to, bring other opportunities and help each other out. And like I said, Kentucky's gotten a lot better. Louisville, that's another reason I love up there. There's a lot of guys up there that are really trying to bring the scene, as a whole, and get rid of the hate and the animosity and just really come together as a community, because that's the only way anybody really wins. We all gotta work together to eat together, and not eat off of each other. And there's a lot of people that want to eat off of each other and try to make their name off the back of somebody else. But at the end of the day, you get enough like-minded people to want it bad enough, and now all of a sudden everybody starts paying attention.
Okay. So, as far as artists that you work with so far, like kind of list some of the artists that you work with so far, and also list some artists that you want to work with in the future.
So, like mainstream guys, I've got a couple records with Chris Calico. Thanks to Wishmaster, did a little beat combo earlier this year with some beats of his with some Chris Calico features, hooks, verses, etc. I've got a song with Capadonna from Wu Tang off of a similar beat pack through Temper Beats earlier this year. Um, I've got a song with Cryptic Wisdom, Darian Saffron, who used to be a Strange Music. I've got a bunch of songs with guys. I just did a song with my buddy Hybrid the rapper. He's out of Lexington, Kentucky, Frankfurt area. He's kind of been an OG in the Kentucky scene for a long time, somebody I've respected for a long time. And he actually reached out to me and wanted to do a song with me just earlier this year, which was pretty dope. My homie Be Good, like I mentioned, I got a record with him. And then as far as artists, I really like to work with Ritz. I've got a feature with him coming, kind of the same thing. Anno Domination did a beat collab pack with a Ritz feature that I got, but I'd like to work with him on a different level. Jelly Roll's another one. Yellow Wolf would probably be a big one. Joyner Lucas, I really like Joyner. J Cole would be a huge one for me. I like a lot of the lyrical guys, man. Not knocking anything anybody does, but I like the J. Coles and the Kendricks and them storytellers that make you think, listen to the record two or three times and see that picture that they paint for you.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I like lyricists too, man. So, what would you say is your most successful project so far?
My most successful Disappear seems to be doing the best as far as my Spotify numbers that I keep up with. It seems to be a pretty well over track, all over where it's getting plays and stuff. That's one of the Chris Calico features that I've got. And that's a more personal, like kind of tapping into my childhood a little bit and tapping into, my relationship with my kid's mom and stuff like that as well. So I think maybe that's why it kind of goes over as well as it does. My personal favorite record that I've done is probably 86, which is kind of a little more of on the horrorcore side, I guess, like a Juggalo style song. But that was really me. When I dropped that record, I was at a point where I was tired of, I guess, the unnecessary hate. That I felt like I was getting a lot of hate for just doing me and my style of music, which there isn't really any style. I kind of do what I want, like I said. So 86 is really fun for me to perform just because it's kind of a let loose, like, I don't give a fuck attitude, so to speak. So
Okay. So, for all your fans out there, man, kind of explain what you like doing in your spare time when you're not doing music.
when I ain't doing music, man, I'm usually trying to spend time with my kids or, constantly working on marketing, promoting, really learning more about the music business, whether it be working on getting my engineering skills better or getting better with marketing and things like that, or constantly looking for shows. But really, man, outside of kids and work, that's music is really all I kind of do. I've decided that I mean, I'm not at the point yet where I can't only do music. I still work a full time job and all of that shit. But that's the end game. Is I'm getting to that point. I've done a lot of shows in the last 2 years. I've opened for a few big name artists. I'm getting pretty well respected where I go. So it's kind of just constantly working towards that and getting better for the next day and the day after that.
Okay. So, do you have a team right now? Do you have like a manager and things like that?
I got my guys in Canada, like I mentioned, Enigmatic. They help with a lot of my marketing and promotion. I don't have a manager, none of that. And I just kind of play A&R and my own manager. That's how I've gotten on a lot of shows, by reaching out to venues and just merely asking, you guys need openers, and all they can do is tell me no. And a lot of the times I reach out, and a lot of the times I get, usually yeses, or hey, show up. If somebody don't show, we'll slide you in. So really, I've learned to just kind of take it into my own hands, because nobody's really going to want this dream, as bad as I do. So at the end of the day, if I'm pushing myself, then I can't blame anybody else, for my failures. If I didn't push myself hard enough, that's on me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is your short and long term goals as far as your music career?
Short-term goals, I got an album that I'm finishing. It'll be my second album that I've dropped in the last year. I dropped The Dystopia of an MC at the end of last year. This album is going to be dropping right around my birthday, December 20th. It'll be live on all streaming services. I'm going to have physical copies on the 16th at this show that I'm doing for my album release. uh Long-term goals, man, within the next year and a half, I really want to go on like a little mini tour, go hit some states that I haven't been to yet, and hit some cities I haven't been to yet, and really just start putting my face out there more, and really, getting people to resonate more with my music.
Okay, now I can feel that. So, upcoming projects for the rest of the year. I know you say you got the album coming in the beginning of next year. Do you have any features coming too? And you got an estimate date for when you're gonna drop the album?
So the album, I'll have physical copies December 16th. It's called Diaries of a Nomad, Volume One. Just incredible. It's got a couple of those Chris Calico features on it. That hybrid the rapper feature I was talking about. And then next year, man, I'm really gonna start collabing a lot with my guys over at Enigmatic. My guy Trusk, he's out of the UK. We got a guy Pablo, he's from India. Really just start collabing a lot more with my guys over at the label, and kind of start working that international angle, man, and really just showing everybody kind of what all we do over there.
Okay. So, how do you want people to perceive you?
Uh, as just a guy that's out here chasing a dream, doing what I love, and trying to set an example for my kids, man. That's really a lot of the driving force behind why I keep doing this, is because it is a dream. I know everybody has dreams, and everybody, if it was meant to be easy, most of us wouldn't chase them. But at the end of the day, I grew up as a kid that didn't, I got laughed at when I told my parents my dreams, and now I'm out here chasing them, and living my dreams to a point. And I want my kids, no matter what it is they want to be, to see dad and say, dad never gave up, even, when the odds were against him and everybody told him he probably should, he never gave up. And at the end of the day, like, it all comes back to, like I said, doing everything for these kids, man, and just really trying to set a better example for them than that I had, and a lot of other people have.
Absolutely, bro. So, any closing remarks? That any last words you want to say, and let people know how to find you on social media and things like that.
First and foremost, man, thank you for having me again. I greatly appreciate it. You're doing a great thing out here for artists and everybody. I kind of learned about you through Facebook, and kind of checked you out of a couple of your little podcasts and interviews last night. Once I realized I was lining one up with you, man, you're doing a great thing for us guys out here. So thank you for that. And then, anybody wants to look me up, it's at Obsolete on all socials. It's Obsouleet, Obsolete. Um, Really, just support your local artists, man. If it's your homies or just people in your town, you see local shows, you might not know nobody, just pop in, man. Drop that $5 and spend a ticket. You might go see something you like, and just constantly support, man. That's really all I can say is, a lot of these people don't realize how much blood, sweat, and tears we really put into this. And it means a lot when we see people out there in the crowd, vibing and rocking out with us.
Absolutely, man. Whenever you invest a lot of time and money into something that you got a passion for, it always hits different when you get people physical, because it's different reading a comment or something like that,
Yeah.
but when somebody physically telling you that they rock with you, like in person, like 5 feet away from you, or you could to look
Yeah.
energy from far away in the crowd, and that's when it hit different. That's where you get that reassurance to know that, yeah, like a lot of people rocking with me. I need to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's right.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. And anytime you want to come on the podcast, man, you can hit me up. My Instagram is Eric J the Great. That's what I'm mainly on. My Instagram. I check all my stuff, but I'm mainly
Okay.
on Instagram. It's Eric J the Great, and I got a lot of appreciate you supporting the podcast too. I got a lot of big episodes that's gonna drop here soon. I got Shawty Low about to drop.
Yeah, I seen that, man. That's dope, man. I'm happy for you, for real. I'm sure you've been grinding doing this for a long time too. So it's nice when you start seeing some of the fruits of that labor, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I just did my biggest podcast guest 3 weeks ago, Derez Deshaun.
Okay. That's gonna be a good one. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that one drops on November 7th.
All right, bet. I'll be tuning in for that one for sure.
But yeah, man, anytime you got something going on with your music career, or you got any other your buddies or something that need to talk about something on a platform, you can tell them to reach out to me on my Instagram, Eric J the Great, Eric
Most
J,
definitely, man.
THE Great, and I check my DMs and stuff every day. So, and I started this podcast because I don't just do interviews. I talk about real stuff too, as far as just brutality, relationships, child support, things like that, 50-50 in relationships that I know people will come across in their everyday lives. And I really just started it because I think people, the mental health aspect of life, I think is absent. And I think a lot of people need to get reinsurance to know that people go through similar things, whether they're from the same backgrounds or different backgrounds, to get reassurance in their own life and get perspective on things that they're going through.
Amen, man. Like I got a record called "Me and My Depression," and that's really that's one of the ones that resonate a lot with people too, man. Because like you said, mental health it gets pushed aside a lot, man. Everybody thinks oh nobody else knows what's going on or nobody else can relate. And, at the end of the day, it's nice, like you said, having outlets and stuff like that to be able to talk about that and people see they're not alone, because it sucks when you feel like you are, man, and dealing, with whatever it is you might be dealing with. It's nice to know you ain't got to go through it alone.
Yeah, man, I went through a lot of mental health stuff. I used to be in the military. I got out the military 2 years ago, and I
Okay.
was in the military for 8 years. So I went through a lot of mental health stuff on deployments and losing people that I was in the service with and things like that. So that's
Yeah, I can imagine.
real heavy on the mental health thing because I had to go to counselors and talk to therapists and get back into a good space mentally. So I know how that feel, to be down mentally.
That's right.
But yeah, man, this concludes today's episode, man. This episode will drop later on in December. Unless you want to drop it earlier, just let me know. And then just hit me up whenever you want to come back on, bro.
All right, man. We'll do, man. Have a great rest of your night. And again, thank you for having me.
All right, you too.
Peace.